My name is ECAT and this is Jumpstand Podcast. Today we've got a new guest in our studio. His name is Alexander. Hi, Alexander. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you. I'm really great. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you for coming. I'm really excited all the time the guests are coming, and that's the first time we actually met. So I'm excited to have this conversation because I've got multiple questions for you. First of all, may I call you Alex?
Sure.
Perfect. So we've got kind of like a tradition, and at the very beginning, I ask the guests to introduce themselves. So just go with the flow, tell whatever you wish to tell about your life, about your profession, specialization you're into, and whatever you wish to add, just go for it.
Okay. Well, I'm married, have 2 kids. I studied economics. And during my exchange semester in the USA, I spent a little too much money, so I had to start looking for a job. Actually, this job brought me to a software company where I started as a tester, which was really good for my later career, as I now can say, because I really got into this whole banking, capital market, IT stuff. I then moved into consulting, and for almost 20 years, I'm now with Vienna Stock Exchange.
This is unbelievable, very, very long time. You said you've got this exchange program, right, with the States. For how long you stayed there?
1 semester.
Okay, yeah, that's Erasmus exchange programs, right?
Yeah, it was not Erasmus because that's just EU, but it was something kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah. It was very interesting and was really good, yeah.
Where did you stay?
In Illinois.
Okay.
So not the most fanciest place, but fortunately we could get to Chicago quite regularly. And yeah, we were in the States, so we went around a lot.
That's good. I used to live in the States, so I understand the vibe that they usually bring you up there. Well, that's lovely. Speaking about your long experience, because it's really long experience. Why consulting? Let's start from the beginning.
I always liked working with people, and to also use my IT background that I learned on the job when I was a tester. Yeah. So we did product consulting back then, effectively just helping our clients to implement the product, which was a back office solution for capital markets. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really was a good school for me. I learned a lot there, and it gave me the chance to move on to really interesting companies like T-Systems later on for the consulting part, and then to Vienna Stock Exchange, as I mentioned,
Well, speaking about different industries and consulting itself, if we're talking about big manufacturers or really serious businesses, they are using consulting a lot, of course. And I've seen multiple situations and cases when basically you pay a lot, you've got a huge budget just for the consulting, but implementation will never happen. Or if it happens, the results are very vague. Did you face with this type of problem before? Because I remember there was a boom of consulting. I'm talking more like a potential employee, because everyone wanted to get into the consulting as much as possible, especially when you're young, dynamic. Yeah. It's a lot of stress, a lot of work. It's traveling around the place, right? And most important, you've got many different projects. So it's like case-based, this flexible, sharp brain exercise all the time. You meet new people and so on. But quite often, either because of the company you're working for or because of the client itself, it's either doesn't materialize the project itself or not in a full 100% because always things are changing on the way. Or there is no budget, for example, just to proceed and the customer is taking care of it on their own. And eventually, or sometimes, unfortunately, it's not very successful. Did you deal with this type of projects, or maybe you've seen it on the market also?
Well, kind of. For me as a student back then, when I started working, this whole consulting business was a really big chance for all of us.
That's true.
Because obviously we wanted to learn a lot, earn a lot of money, and the consulting business gave us the opportunity to get to know many businesses, many companies. And the hope was always to maybe move then to one of these clients, and get a really long job there, where we can stay. I know this has changed nowadays substantially.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So from my experience, what the clients, the customers are using the consulting for is on the one hand, if they just don't have the know-how, but there I'm rather on the strategic side, like Boston Consultings and so on. Yeah. What I experienced personally was more that they had IT projects where they didn't have the staff to actually do it. Yeah. So they needed some additional manpower, guys who can quickly learn, quickly get on the job and help to get the project running. And coming back to what you were saying, I do remember some cases where the external consultants were used, they were blamed for any unsuccessful projects, when they just internally couldn't manage it to do it, or just were not properly organized, So this is what
that's I think the challenge, right, of the consultant. If we're talking about external sources or outsourcing in this case, because you need to come over into the existing business already, probably, right, figure out all the obstacles and try to fill the gaps in the short period of time. Well, that depends on the project, of course, but still it's a challenge. That's the challenge of consultant. So I'm not here for blaming game. It's more about the understanding how it works, conceptually. Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of this, I'm bringing that up, and I'm sorry for that because it's really weird. It's like highlighting the age. But being in one company, you're working in one company already for almost 20 years. How does it feel?
I still don't know, honestly. If you have asked me 20 years ago how long I would stay in this company, I would have never said 20 years.
Everyone says that. Everyone says that, actually.
On the one hand, it's quite convenient because you know the people, you know how things work in the company. You're established, so you have more freedom, at least for my part. And what I always wanted to avoid was sticking just to one topic all the time. And fortunately, I managed to land in a company that is an SME. So we are just 100 employees. And as we keep saying, our seniors always have at least 2-3 hats on, and that's the case for me as well. And actually, I'm deliberately looking for and searching for such new heads, because I don't want to get bored, So my core duty is I'm responsible for the market data feed, so transporting, disseminating all the market data that's happening in our trading system to everybody that's potentially interested. Also doing the business analyst there, a little bit of network stuff, So it's really a broad range that I can cover, I also quite quickly started with ESG, actually, when my kids came. Then, when you really start thinking about some sustainability and longer stuff. And that's when I introduced that into the company, which got quite a good drive. So maybe 4 years ago, when the CSRD was published by EU, which is a directive that needs all the bigger companies to publish sustainability reports.
To apply,
They changed it a little bit, so we're now affected by this anymore, which is good for us as a company.
Affected by this,
no,
why?
We're not anymore because they did this digital omnibus.
Yes.
That's actually, I really welcome that because that's an initiative by the EU where they just want to try to step down where it makes sense. For the sustainability parts, from my personal point of view, I'm not too happy with that, because, I think we need to push more in this direction.
Yep.
But for us, the problem that we have is we are faced with regulatory rules that are made for big corporations with thousands of people, and we are 100, and we have to cover the same stuff. So everything that's want to do less for us, that's very welcome.
Well, that's interesting that you brought it up because I used to work for a big international corporation, and ESG was introduced years ago also, and we tried to apply at that point, and I'm talking about thousands of employees all over the world, right? So I think it was around 18,000 all over the world. But even based here in Austria, only to apply with a local factory or manufacturing, which is much less people and much less turnover, it still was a challenge because it's created as a standard, but there are no support to actually implement the standard. And it means that it was at one point much cheaper, probably even to pay for all the fines than to actually implement all the changes in that short period of time. So the thing that they're changing also and, getting more flexible for digital industries and so on, it's also good, I believe, but it takes time. We just need to, admit that at least something started to change in this direction. So I also, saw this ESG part in your job description. And it was interesting for me. I always bring up also AI part in job description because at one point, all my friends, they became ESG managers. Then they became digital managers, like digitalization or digital transformation managers. And eventually we're talking about AI. AI implementation, it's a complex thing. And to be honest, when I see it in job description, I don't understand it because it's so broad. It's like, I don't know, it's like to say that I am manufacturer, but of what, right? So it's like, it's really complex thing. We'll come back to that. Speaking of 20 years again of experience, sorry for bringing it back, but I really build up all my questions around that. You noticed, of course, especially if you stick even with one industry, with one company, but with different roles, you probably saw the changes in overall market, financial market also. Do you feel that the speed increased in the last 2-3 years because of the technological progress? How does it look like? Where exactly you feel that change? Aside from the speed of the information that you should procure.
Immediately two perspectives on this pop my mind. The one is, I still remember very vividly, this maybe 10-15 years ago when talked to my former boss back then, and we talked about some topic that wasn't on priority one list. So we'll do this in German, it's the Sommerloch, yeah? So when you're in summer, when you don't have that much to do, then you take care of all the things that you couldn't manage during the year, yeah? This is gone. This is completely gone. Yeah? So I don't find this any longer. I just recently had a chat with a colleague about this, and then we laughed about it. A little bit of desperation in it as well, yeah, because we just don't have the time for such stuff anymore. Yeah, so it's really, we are very driven. Yeah. Also on the capital markets, and that brings me to the second perspective. Yeah, I see the development goes away from human traders to algorithmic trading. So actually computer programs. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
And this is now, I think, 30% at least of all the turnovers is done by that. So for me personally, this means that, you know, in the past there were guys that did day trading and lived off it quite well, yeah? And I think actually this is not possible anymore because, you know, when you see a good price at the market, yeah, before you can actually place your order there, the price is already gone because they're much too quick, yeah? We're talking about co-locations, you know, like they're charging you by the lengths of centimeters of the network cable. So they're really close in the same data center, really close to the cage where the matching engine is, and they're really try to getting as close as possible to that, and they're discussing nanoseconds in this industry.
It was also a case for Google at one point, because they strategically was trying to put the location or the office in New York City in the way that the information gets really fast speed, so they had to put all these wires in the right way. Well, I didn't consider that neither. Well, it's all built on algorithmic right now, right? So we are doing the same research at our podcast before we even start. And what is the most viral? Many things are automated, the publishing also in different times. Of course, you can check the market by the simple AI support so far, understanding what is more trendy. And it can be changed. Of course, you can even code some of the assistants right away that will measure all these things. I'm just curious why we're not financially that well educated, all of us, to live a rich life without, staying at work 8 hours per day, every day. That's the question. But actually it brings another question. Have you ever used, or probably you have, right, in your personal and private investments also the knowledge that you've got about the market and so on?
Partly. I'm not this investor guy. Yeah, I always had colleagues that were, always had a small window open on their workstation where they check the prices of their investments. Yeah. This was always too stressful for me.
I've got the same.
So I feel you. I'm actually following the recommendation by our CEO Christoph Boschan, who more or less says, get a savings plan for an ETF.
Yeah.
Keep spending your money on that, keep saving, and then in 10, 20 years you have a good lot of money,
That's
especially
true.
for young people, they can even start with smaller amounts, but it really pays off,
It makes sense completely.
Yeah, and it's hassle free. Yeah, it's no stress. Yeah,
absolutely.
What's always important, obviously, is don't get stressed out when the market goes down. Yeah, actually, the pros know this is actually very welcome because then they can buy cheap.
Yeah,
I did so as well. And in the long run, it always goes up. Yeah, and for most of the ETFs, so you can't do much wrong there. Yeah, it's quite easy to set up. Meantime, with the new brokers. So this is quite straightforward from my point of view.
It's smart and simple. That's exactly what should be done. Absolutely. Well, again, it's not that common right away. I think that you get to this investment part when you're more or less standing solidly. So say it's 30 plus, right? People start to consider. But right now, with all the opportunities, with knowledge that is provided just right here, it takes, I don't know, you can start when you're 20. You're really early age. Yeah, you're completely right.
Yeah, actually, my boys started with, I think, 17, 16.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, they were really quick, and really early,
Good.
And but it's really cool for them, because I know they are financially safe already as long as they stick to this plan.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I know that you educate yourself also constantly, right? And you are studying at VU also, different specializations. Can you share what was the recent education that you got?
Well, this actually started about 2 years ago when I got into this AI topic. Actually, my wife started using ChatGPT, and I was really interested in what they're doing there. Oh, okay, that's really interesting. Yeah. By the way, the same as with the ESG stuff. Yeah, she's always the initiator. And then I started looking into this topic. Yeah. I remember my boss asked me, to help him on some briefing for our CEO because he was invited to a discussion where AI already was a topic. And then I started to go to congresses, webinars, whatever, and then I decided, I want to do some proper education on this. Found out about the VU Executive Academy and did the data science elective there as part of the MBA they offer. And this I really liked it, not only because of the people I got to know, obviously, it's something different environment, it's always good. But also the stuff that I learned there and the people I met there, also the professors that were helping us, teaching us.
We met because of connections.
Yes, it's a really great network, it is.
This is true. Well, everyone says it's a question of many decades. So it also developed a lot. The program, let's say, agitage around the program also changed, right? Before MBA, it was very exclusive, quite high-level education, not in the way of the quality of the education, but more in the mastery of your level that you can jump afterwards, right? But now it became affordable to many people, and many corporations are actually investing money in that, and I believe that's the right way to do that. It's kind of like
absolutely
to enlighten or give the education to everyone who wants to get this education. This is great. So VU has amazing programs, but I've heard different feedback about the data science itself. The specialization is not that easy, maybe because you've got the background, you understood the most of it, but non-technical people, I remember, were struggling a lot during the program. So there should be some background. And I remember we also had this discussion with other guests of mine at that podcast when we were talking about the skills that every manager should acquire. Because in my personal opinion, I believe that, for example, if you've been a manager of different type, right, and you're still operating different cases, you need to be more flexible. Agility, it's the most important right now because everything is changing too fast. Not everyone can do that, but still most of the managers, they usually react immediately on any type of changes. But also, because of all the tools, I actually started to talk about that years ago already, before AI, that we need to probably consider even to understand the coding. Because managers will face the situation when you should manage either colleagues of yours, employees, or the projects where the basic knowledge is needed. Doesn't matter which industry you're working. And after that, we've got this digitalization, specialization, like digitalization part and specialization mentions, and so on. So it's already here, which I'm quite excited on one side because I was right. On the other side, I understand what type of challenge we're facing with. So I believe you've got a mix of skills. But in the last 5 years, do you feel that some skills became either better or maybe you acquired new skills that you never used before in that much, let's say, in the industry you're working?
I actually think it's more important here is the mindset that you should have. Yeah, you should always be open-minded and should be open to new stuff. Yeah, I know our brain really don't likes new stuff. Yeah, because it's afraid of it. Yeah, it wants to protect us. Yeah, but this is actually a possibility to develop, personally develop, and also professionally develop. Yeah, and if you're open-minded and if you're interested in new stuff, yeah, then I think the barrier to use new technologies, new tools, is much lower. Yeah. So I think it's rather not about the specific skills that you acquire, yeah, but the mindset that you have. Yeah. So if you see something new, like I saw my wife using ChatGPT, I was really interested in that, and I dug into that and wanted to get more information. Okay, how can we use this in our company? Because as I already said, we're really struggling with all this regulatory burden that we are facing. Yeah. And it always gets more. Yeah. I'm sharing my office with our chief security officer. And at least once a week, each of us goes, "Oh, not again!" Yeah,
really?
How can we manage? Yeah, how should we? Yeah, where should we take the time from? Yeah, so this is really a huge issue, and I personally think that AI really can help us here. Yeah,
that's interesting. Well, how do you implement it in your company?
Well, I had a lot of talks and I listened a lot, yeah, and so also with my education at VU, I started with a typical automatization best practice. So what I did was I talked to all my head of departments and asked them, okay, guys, yeah, think about all the use cases that you have in your departments, yeah, that are very manual, very repetitive, that take a long time, that nobody wants to do.
Right.
So because there you can have the quick wins, yeah, you can introduce new tools, yeah. People are really eager to use them then because they get rid of all this stuff they don't want to do.
Absolutely,
it takes a lot of time for them, yeah. And this actually proved to be quite successful.
Doesn't it create the mess with the tools itself? Because, you know, it's like you've got different departments, different leads there. And one point, everyone suggests 2-3 tools. And they never the best match because the department's also different, right?
Exactly. So that's why you need to have a use case approach basis. Yeah, that's really important here because then, you know, in our case, me has the overview. Okay, what are the use cases? Yeah. And I saw that the use cases that my colleagues collected were more or less the basis office use cases that each and every company is facing, regardless what they're manufacturing, what their business is, So it's always about, okay, where is this document? Okay, how should I start drafting a document? How can I rework the document? How can I write this email in a proper professional way? Maybe taking out some emotions. So this is more or less the stuff, that I saw, slide decks, a huge issue as well, to get some support there, So that's how we moved on. Yeah.
Well, that's the right way, in my opinion, and positively going towards change. On the other side, of course, I understand if you use the tools or the platforms which are accessible for everyone. For example, there is of course a risk of the data privacy, but the bigger the company, the bigger the platform, it means more security. So it's like many things, should be played around. I faced and seen some projects which were actually developing their own platforms only because of the reason of the very large archiving. And I can't say that they've got too many, not the stakeholders, but the departments itself that they had to navigate between. But the amount of the information these departments were generating was absolutely crazy. Speaking of data, and you're a specialist in that, do you believe that in the era of AI, it's a little bit earlier to say, but still, we've got a better quality of data?
Yes, I do think so, because that's something that I learned also in VU in the data governance classes, where they actually told you, okay, and this is what I know from my experience with being in the software industry for over 20 years now, 25 years. The result of a software program, the output, can always be as good as the quality of the input is.
Absolutely.
So
that's
garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
And I think this is especially true for AI. So if you feed an AI garbage data, it can only generate garbage. So I think, as you said, I think we're not there yet. Not completely. But I think we need to go there, yeah. And as we know that all the LLM providers need data like hell to train their models, yeah. This will be interesting. I think the data quality has to become better. In
general, yeah. It takes time, for sure, but I agree with you completely. What do you think, actually, I'm not talking in changes, like about the changes in this case, but generically, in this transition, in digital transition, what do you think was the biggest challenge? Because it's still a challenge for everyone, right? And we also don't know what we're dealing with completely. Mm-hmm. I'm still struggling to acquire and understand everything what comes to the market, to test it. Mm-hmm. I've got a schedule that once per day, I dedicate like 20, 30 minutes just to test new platforms, opportunities, new applications, and so on. Mm-hmm. And it's a struggle because on one side, it's a great range of tools. On the other side, of course, I don't need that many, but I don't have a capacity to evaluate which exactly I need in my daily work. So at one point, you just decide that I go only with that, and that's it. That's the main challenge for me, just to stop, because I always got this FOMO that maybe there is another tool which is much better, that can do work for me completely, and I just do nothing and relax what I was born for. But your challenge in the company, or I don't know if you can actually share that, but maybe the company challenge, if it's possible to share.
I think there are quite a few challenges. So picking the right tool and knowing of the right tool, yeah, as you mentioned, is a big challenge. Yeah, I do admit that the guys at VU, all the professors there, all the colleagues there, yeah, really helped a lot on that, because network more people, see more tools, and can give you a better overview than you could ever get on your own. I think people management is a huge issue here, yeah, because people are afraid when they are using new technologies, especially with AI. Yeah, I think many people are afraid, especially the older generations, of losing their job, that they just get, for the sake of efficiency, replaced by AI. Yeah, which I also kind of faced in my company. I did hear people saying who did some AI projects in companies that you actually, when you start an AI project, you should also start an organizational development project where you can actually really access the people and take away their fears. Yeah, and really I think that's very important, and that's what I also implemented with my project. So I've got my core team, which is more or less IT and legal guys. So we're just 5-6 persons there. But I also got this, how I call them, the AI ambassadors round, where I asked each head of department to nominate one person who's really eager to use AI, to use these new technologies, to be a representative for their team. And these people are so important for me in my project, because they are an interface for me to further distribute the knowledge, all the new stuff that we come up with, but also on the other hand to give me feedback how the people are actually faring with these new tools. Are there any anxieties? Are there any technical problems that they have? Do they understand it? Because based on this, I can, that's also something that's really cool in an SME. We're small enough that I can do one-on-ones, which is very helpful.
That's really good.
Because we got such a heterogeneous group of people there. We got really IT hardcore guys, who are really close to the topic, and maybe I've got an accountant who has never used ChatGPT before, and that's one of the goals that I try to achieve here, is that I can get all of our colleagues at least to a certain level.
That's good. That's amazing.
And for the time being, it works out quite good.
It's great. Still, we're still human beings. That's great. I'm happy to hear that. Humanization is the most important, because it's really great that the managing style is changing. If we're talking about the changes, right? And organizations also, then these business models are also changing, but not that badly. And I admire the transitions like that. And it's interesting that before it was usually applicable to the companies which were growing like fast expansion or even unexpected change of business or unexpected expansion. That was the case, what you brought up, that it was always amazing that when the company was small, that you can, during the change and new investment or merging with another company, you can talk to your people and explain this change. Of course, they don't have this luxury at the big companies. Of course not. It's like a big machine, just cutting everything on the way. But with SME, as you said, it's great that you've got an opportunity to talk to people. I never thought that you will also need to consider in organizations some kind of like transition psychologist, because it's not even transition or change manager. It's the person who actually evaluates the mood in the department of the change.
And reacts to it.
That's great. That's really great. That's good. I will put it also, as a tip for myself. It's interesting. Okay, what trends in AI in finance do we have today? Do we have any trends? Because I am not in the finance business at all. I touch it, of course, because I am making different business plans and different research for different industries. I have to be that flexible and understand some financial reporting or any type of figures or abbreviations, right? But not more than that. What is happening right now in the AI area, trending in finance?
Well, I know that some companies, especially the maybe spin-offs of the big investment banks, they are using AI already.
Okay.
To analyze the data, and maybe to get their algorithmic trading machines even more efficient.
Yeah.
The general trend in finance is I see there was a big hype on ESG a few years ago, which unfortunately with Trump and so on kind of got really slow in the meantime. It's just, I would say it's nothing specific in finance than in any other business. When you take a look at the AI, the potential is so big. So, for instance, we also took a close look back then when Bitcoin got really big. So, on the blockchain technology, we all did a course there. So, our boss really financed the course for 20, 30 colleagues of ours. And for me, in a nutshell, there was nothing new there, especially all the critique on the monetary systems, all these guys, we want to have this more democratic, At the end of the day, for me, this was a lie. Because, how many people are actually able to have the know-how to have their own wallet, to hold their own wallet, So you need an intermediary, and who owns the intermediaries? There we are back in the regular standards financial system with all the big players that we all know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but with AI, that's really disruptive. I think actually the same way when people say it was like when the internet was introduced. It was really a big step. I see this as well. But we're still here on the path of getting more efficient, more productive with our economies.
Absolutely. Well,
as we did maybe in the last 100 years.
It generates opportunities always like that, right? If you've got some change, for example, or threat is actually equals opportunity. Of course, there are many others coming to the market. That's what I fear a little bit, to be honest. A mess that can be created around that, because we've got newcomers, new startups, and I always mention it, at least in the recent episodes. Hopefully, I will invite more startup, not employees, but the specialists who will share their information. Right now, most of them, they are invited. They said that they will come, but they are on the NDA, and it takes some time to implement or develop the product before they start talk about that. So we will wait until that moment. I'm very curious. However, I also see the tendency that there are many support and budget put into investment put in the startups, and unfortunately, I don't believe that even half of it gonna survive or gonna bring the change. Things that are created or developed internally in different big companies that I trust into, because they've got internal data, internal organization, they can retrieve, they can try, test multiple times, and upgrade. Internally, they've got also the interest to have that. But if we're talking about the specific startups or platforms, which are very, very niche, Again, the need should be checked. Of course, there are probably potential customers already there, but I believe it's not, when you're comparing investment with the output eventually, it might be not even close. And that's what I see again in different industries. Let's see. So where I wanted to go, that's a good question. Future of AI, we covered that.
Maybe what I would like to add to what you were saying is, especially with AI, I saw this in the beginning. So 2 years ago, there were some CEOs who really wanted to have an AI project in their company, and it's now in some kind of a graveyard, where they have this POC, this proof of concept, standing there that nobody really used. So for me, it's absolutely important that you have a strategic view on that you think about it in a strategic way. Okay, where do I want to go with it? What do I want to do with it? And then, as I said, when I start collecting all the use cases and then choosing the tools for these use cases, don't try to avoid these individual solutions, that are isolated.
Yeah, it's true.
You really have to integrate this in this whole company strategy, and then you, especially for bigger companies, and then I think the success rate is much higher. And then you actually get much more out of it.
Yes, for sure. Well, I'm also in the business. It means that risk it's very good. Yeah, you should try to understand if it works or not. But sometimes it's just going a little bit crazy. However, you're completely right. I also been in the contact with different financial risk managers. Finance risk managers or finance risk assessment managers and so on in absolute different companies, financial companies mostly. And interesting how much their evaluation of the market has changed in the last 3 years, not even 5, 10. I'm not talking about that. It's too old already, but COVID, geopolitical situation, twisted everything, changed everything, and many, of course, didn't have it even in their scenarios that something like that can happen, even though they should, because it's extreme things that are changing the world and market and so on. Yes, well, we mentioned already ESG implementation and the overall AI change and value of AI. I wanted to ask you what type of platforms you personally use aside of ChatGPT. What do you use in your normal life, for example?
Okay, well, there's a big distinction what I can use in my professional life.
Yeah.
Because there, due to the regulations that we are facing, it's really hard for us to get a new product. So for the time being, we're actually stuck with Copilot because it was the easiest for us. Yeah.
Okay.
And it covered most of our use cases already, at least somewhat well, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a year ago, I heard about, it's decaf ChatGPT, which was true, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It became much better than that, yeah. So you can now work with it, yeah.
Okay.
I know there are better tools out there, yeah. So I'm quite limited there. I'm currently looking into an on-prem solution for our sensitive data. As I learned that all the LLM providers, the companies behind them, they are really so eager to let their models learn that I think they do ignore the licenses, the contracts that they have in place. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and this is an issue for us because obviously we do have at least some sensitive data when, for instance, we talk about a new listing, a new IPO, new company is coming to the stock exchange. This is extremely confidential in the beginning.
I can't even imagine that.
Must not be leaked at all. Yeah. So that's why we're looking into this on-prem LLM solution now. Personally, and then also for my education at VU, I used a lot of Claude Code. I really got into vibe coding, so I can't. Although I'm in software development for 25 years now, I'm no developer, but I work with developers so much that I know the structure of a code,
of course,
and how it works, and this really helped me. I did a full vibe coded project for university, and I was amazed by it, what I can do with it, and I mainly did this with Claude Code. Started to look into a little bit into Claude Cowork, which is the agentic AI is another field that's really extremely interesting. But also, with my professional background, also very sensitive because all the security issues that you might have with that.
Yeah, for sure.
We all read the stories about OpenClaw, what it can do or should not do. So I think this will be quite interesting in the next few months, actually. How companies will deal with that.
That's interesting. Yeah. How do you think actually all this dynamic is going to change your work, for example, in 5 years? Because we're already facing things I didn't expect 2 years ago. Didn't expect at all. We've heard about AI. We've heard it's the agents year 2026. Here we go. Many countries actually already tried many things, right? And showed it to the market. But I still understand that I didn't expect the change that came. If we just use your imagination, how do you think your work is going to change in the 5 years?
Okay, yeah. Ideally, and that's maybe wishful thinking. Yeah, I can really focus more on stuff that I'm interested in. Yeah, maybe doing some research. Looking for the next new cool tool that could help us. Yeah, and getting rid of more of this day-to-day work. Although I still think this is an interesting question. Yeah, I'm quite fond of when I have a real human that I can talk to, yeah. So either if I'm the client or if I'm the provider or whatever, yeah, I don't want to talk to an AI.
Yeah.
So this is obviously something that doesn't really work together quite well, yeah. So find a solution for that will be interesting, yeah. Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. It's so fast pacing in the last few months and years, yeah. And maybe what's interesting here, I had this discussion recently where maybe put on a more philosophical perspective on our society. Yeah. So on the one hand, we're actually building up the workload even more, and that's regardless who you talk to, yeah, in each and every business, all the people say it's got even more, and even more.
That's true. Yeah.
So we build up this workload on the one hand, but on the other side, we build up these tools to help us with this workload. Yeah, which is kind of absurd. Yeah. But I think that's the way that we will go for it. We'll be coming even more, yeah. But we will get some more tools where we can cover that at least partly, yeah. So just keeping the balance, yeah. And there are new generations coming, and they are not the same way. They're different as we are, as the boomers were. That are now retired. So I think companies have to rethink a lot, yeah, because the people are not willing to work that much any longer.
That's what I'm thinking about, that our work style is changing, which is great. We're not working for a living anymore. We're getting more and more to, leave for work. It's the other way around, actually. So it's like less working, more living, right? So you are not wasting. It's more like you're not spending your life by chasing some maybe goals or success, which can be delivered maybe without this chase. And that's important to face. And I think that's the beauty of these tools. That's the beauty of this transition that we've got right now. We've got opportunity to really get rid of all this load of stress that we've got right now. On the other side, of course, it's a lot of still stress because you need to learn. You need to change constantly, and getting closer to retirement, I understand that probably it's not something you want to do anymore, because I am eager all the time to learn something new, to go for the different university and so on. But my professional life, it's more, I would say, technical still, right? I'm trying to go more and more in the creative world when I want to learn something, because this part is already filled. And I want to maybe, get something new talents, develop something new or see something new. I want not to deal with the same things. And our brain, unfortunately, or it's good, even if you are doing different cases, acquiring new AI or new technology, it's still going to be the same type of exercise for your brain. You need to do something completely different. In that case, your brain is gonna stretch a little bit and maybe live longer. That's what at least I've learned recently. And I really practice it, at least trying. Maybe I should learn Mandarin at one point. But if I deal with the professional cases for my brain, it's the same work, even if the cases will be absolutely different. Or the project or the industry, doesn't matter. It's the same exercise for my brain.
I think you said something very interesting when you said want to move from the technical part rather to the creativity. I think the combining of both, that's what's really, really interesting.
True.
And that's where also, you get more fulfilled by the work you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And more efficient, obviously, yeah, because all these empty kilometers, as I kept saying them, yeah. There's this one. Actually, I used this in the pitch to my boss when I wanted to do this education at VU. I said, I'm also a business analyst for EU regulatory documents. Mm-hmm. And when they update them, they don't do it in a proper way. At least not that it's workable. So they just mentioned Article 3, point B is deleted. Instead of that, you have this paragraph.
Yeah.
So it took me actually next to my day job, daily to-dos, 2 weeks to copy all these PDFs of the new and the old version in a Word file, track changes mode, so I can actually start with my core competence. So to do the business analysis, to check, okay, what actually changed in the law. So what do we need to change in our systems?
Yeah.
And in these 2 weeks, I was fed up with that. Yeah? I didn't want to do that anymore. Yeah, and that was also one of the main reasons why I wanted to start working with AI, because I saw an opportunity there to get rid of these empty kilometers. Yeah? Mm-hmm. To really focus on the parts of your work that you like to do. And I really hope this will be the outlook for the next few years.
Well, work with the strategy or management, it's still creativity. You're right, completely right. But I've seen the companies still that using facts, for example, right? We're not talking about creativity there. In this type of business, it's not a business. It's more like production focused, right? It's all about the security, safety, and there is some things that gonna solidly stay there for a while because it's a safety reason. But if we're talking about the strategy, management, the vision, business dynamic, then I think that AI and all these transformations are highly needed. Even before I thought it's going to be only needed in IT companies, but no, it's needed everywhere right now. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Thank you for your input. It's really interesting to, you've got a little bit different, well, maybe just opposite in one point vision from the IT people. Because when I talk to the technicians, engineers, data analysts, like the ones who are doing coding, right, and they are facing right now this type of transition, they actually got opposite vision on what they're challenging with or what type of skills they need. If we're talking about soft skills, all the introverts are saying that the most important right now to become extroverts. And it's interesting also that IT people or programmers, they're switching, and they're going public. We just had one of the shooting a few days ago with a friend of mine also, and he is the mobile architect. And he said that in the last few years, he had to push himself out under this, lights and so on. And so it's interesting, this transition, what I admire, what I think gonna change the mindset in general, and also the professions itself. Coming back to that and to new generation, if we're talking about the newcomers to the business, new employees and so on, what would you recommend, give your advice to the new generation which is coming to work? It's like, don't work.
No,
work,
it's
just
not
earn
about,
money.
I discussed it with my wife when we were talking about our boys. We got twins, and they're now
nice,
21,
lovely.
also studying on VU. When they said, I don't want to work all day long, and I said, well, that's rather obvious because our parent generation, they are the typical boomers, they worked from 9 to 5, did their job, and and when they retire, the life often more or less ends,
That's
I don't want it for me, I don't want it for my kids, So we started a lot of talking about the balance of work and private life, work-life balance. But we, in our generation, I think, are not that good when it comes to actually really doing it, what we are talking about, But our kids, they grew up like that,
That's true.
And they do it differently, And what I would recommend to them is, lifelong learning. Stay open-minded, A recommendation I just recently got, tune your social media, whatever you are using, for AI topics, So did you get all the newest stuff in your feed, Don't watch cat videos, watch the newest AI video, It brings you further, It develops yourself, And that's being open-minded that's the most important thing. Being interested in new stuff, I think that's really important, and staying true to yourself.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for your time, for your input, for your experience in sharing everything. It's very valuable, and I hope that we will meet maybe in a few years, and I will ask you the questions about this conversation for sure, because things that we probably expect today are going to be absolutely different.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. I'm really looking forward to that. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Well, that was Jumpstand Podcast. Thank you very much for listening, for watching. Please subscribe. And yes, see you soon. Bye.